Hey everybody, today we are going to be working on a Poulan Pro 335. It's a mid-50cc chainsaw. I saw it at a garage sale. The homeowner said it was in storage for many years, tried to start it, wouldn't work, so he sold it. Let's just open this thing up, see what's wrong with it, and let's see if we can get this thing running again. So I removed the air filter, and the first thing I noticed is that the fuel line and the impulse line are completely rotted out and disintegrated. Next, I had a peek inside the gas tank and saw that the fuel filter was still attached and not in bad condition, but because of what we're dealing with in the carburetor above, this is going to have to be pulled out and redone. All right, to begin, you want to grab yourself a 5/16 socket driver, pull out these two screws and this mounting plate, and that should allow this carburetor to slide right on out. And that should give you access to pull out all the old crunchy fuel lines. Look at this stuff. Now, this fuel filter was in pretty decent condition, so I ended up just cleaning it and reusing it. Next, we're going to fish out the duckbill valve that's hopefully still in the tank. There it is. This allows air in and doesn't allow fuel to get out. It is in decent condition, and I will reuse it. So let's quickly blow this saw off and clean the tank before we continue, because we are going to pull two lines through. One for the fuel pickup and one for the tank vent. It makes life a little easier doing this job if you have a long set of needle nose pliers. They are really good at reaching those hard to get to areas. Also, when pulling your duckbill valve back into position, it's helpful if you squirt a little bit of oil on the hose just to help it slide back into its housing. Now, after we pulled those two lines, it's onto the carburetor, and holy moly, it's good we opened this thing up because it is loaded with very fine sawdust. This saw never would have ran in this condition, so it is a real good thing that we opened it up. I did clean it in the normal, usual way, replaced all the rubbers, so I didn't really make a video of it. You guys have probably seen tons of videos, content on YouTube like this, so if you do want to see it, let me know in the comments, and I'll see what I can do. So now we have to get access to the impulse line, and that's located basically dead center of the chainsaw behind all this crap. Now, if you look inside where the carburetor sits, there is like a little space that kind of gives you a glimmer of hope that maybe you could reach it with some pliers or something like that. But honestly, it's way easier just to take this thing apart and to do it properly. I do promise you that this is the fastest way to do this job. If you removed all those screws, congratulations. You're ready to crack this saw open like a clamshell on a beach vacation. But before you do, make sure that the intake boot's still in one piece. Those old boots are as fragile as today's youth, so you gotta be gentle. On the other hand, if the intake boot is already broken and dried out and trashed, then you don't even have to worry about this. Just open the saw right up and get yourself a new boot. To get this boot off, I used a heat gun on a low heat setting, and it worked pretty good, came right off. I'm going to spray down the block with some WD-40 just to kind of loosen some of the grease and grime. I put a little pick inside the impulse tube just to keep any contaminants out of the saw, and hit it up with some high pressure air and give it a nice clean. Now that we've cleaned the area, it's time to connect our impulse line. Next, let's press the intake back into place, and just remember to close off the intake with the piston. This will keep any crud from falling into the crankcase. It's the same reason why I tackle the impulse line first. Also, don't go overboard when snugging up that gear clamp. You might tear the rubber. And I also like to tap it in place just to help it seat properly. Now that the intake boot is mounted to the saw, the next step is we have to join the two pieces back together, and that can be a little tricky. I use some plumber's faucet gasket grease. I used it on the outside of the intake boot. Just kind of helps things slide in place a little better. If there isn't any lubrication, it might pinch and damage it. Who knows? All right, you've made it this far. The saw's all back together. Hopefully it's not crooked. Let's get that carburetor in place. So I like to use a little bit of gasket sealer in between the carburetor and the face of the cylinder just to rule out any potential air leaks that might happen come tuning time. Also, before mounting the carb, I like to stick the gasket on the rear of the carburetor and push the mounting screws through just to hold it in place. It also helps with lining the carb up when setting it in place before it's tightened down. Next, let's get that choke lever in place. Now, you might have to do a little dance to get around the impulse and the fuel line, but after busting some moves, it'll find its place. Nice. And now let's cut the hoses to length and get them set in place. Before I put the filter and the cover back on, I'm just going to run through the saw, make sure none of the triggers are sticking, everything's working the way it should, nothing's hanging up on something else. We're good to go, and that's it. So before I get the saws all back together, I like to just give them a quick rinse in the sink. Just a warning though, these saws do smell and it might piss off your wife or significant other. So just be careful and make sure you clean the saws when they aren't in the house so they don't scream at you.